dog. I'ma dive on the floor, go try to block every shot, and I'ma be physical with you the whole game. You know Stu gonna be physical with you. When you think of the Pistons, you think of just hard work and just gritty basketball. That's just the identity you gotta have when you put on that jersey.
I'm not your average breed of King 9. Not a good dog, I'm bad boy for life. I set the tone, don't care about no tick. Let it be known, I get my respect. Come in the lane and see I don't bluff. If you retaliate, that's on ya. Talking pundits, I hear your shade. Talking that chop, you must run this way. Tryna tell ya, if the dog palm, mess around, find out, Tryna tell ya, if the dog palm, mess around, find out, For some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that. When you're real for some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that. Mess around, find out.
What up, though? Welcome back to another episode of the Downtown Deuce Show. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday night, Friday Eve. We are joined once again by my brother from another, Clutch Points beat writer and reporter for the Detroit Pistons, Eric Vincent, aka E. Vinny. Eric, welcome back to the show, bro.
Pleasure to be here, man. I'm telling you, dog. That's definitely my favorite song of yours, Dog Pound. I need you to let me get on the remix, though. I can't rap, but I just want to do something on that song, bro. Just one time. Let me drop ad-libs or something.
You got bars. You got bars. So we definitely might have to make that happen. Hey, pull up to the studio, bro. You know where I'm at. Come on.
Okay, we gonna make it happen, man.
I appreciate you, though. Appreciate you, man, for sure.
For sure.
Let me ask you this: are you as ready as I am for the NBA to come back, bro? Because I'm like, these days, bro, seem to get longer and longer the closer we get.
Yeah, I'm excited to have football back, but I'm kind of over the Tigers, what's happening with them. So we need some more, real excitement. The Pistons got a lot to look forward to, NBA just in general. So, yeah, it's about that time. I'm excited for these next 2 weeks to creep up. Media Day coming next week. It's a lot to look forward to coming up with the NBA. For
sure, bro. I have had my offseason fill of mock trades and fake news free agency signings. Like, I'm just so over it. I'm ready to get it popping, man. So, guys, summer is officially over. Happy fall to everybody. And you know what that means when we hit the fall season. It means NBA basketball is right around the corner, and we don't have much longer to wait. Pistons coverage will be in full swing next week, as Eric just mentioned, and we are going to get into that a little bit later. But first things first, we appreciate all the support. And as always, we want to make this very interactive. So we want to hear from you guys. So be sure to drop your comments. I see you guys already here already. Shift God, happy birthday to you. I think you are the legend that was born on the 25th of September, which is today. Ricky, I see you. What's going on? C4. Aaron, what's going on? What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? James. So I see you guys all here in the chat. We're going to have fun tonight, man. We're going to have fun. James says Pistons winning it all.
I gotta pitch my homie real quick. He gonna be shy and not make his pitch. My dog Ricky is probably the funniest dude in Detroit. I know you done had some people come on the show and rock with you, talk about the Pistons. You gotta have Ricky on here one of these days, man. Okay. He'll be a great addition for sure.
Okay. He already cutting up in the comments already. So
always. It translates to camera too. Don't worry.
That's good to know. So Ricky, I'm gonna have to reach out to you, bro. Check your DMs. All right, man. So like I said, if you guys want to be part of this conversation, get moved to the front of the line, drop a super chat or whatever, and we'll get right to you and get to your topic. As far as tonight's topic, we are going to get into that now. So Eric, ESPN recently dropped their top 100 NBA player rankings, and the Pistons were represented by 3 players. Now, some of these players were unexpected. At least one of them were unexpected, but for some, it was more than one. But a lot of Pistons fans were overall not happy with this list for a number of different reasons. And I'm sure you're going to get into your opinion and your take on this list here. So we're going to get into that for sure. So let's just start with this, man. Let's get into the first Pistons player to make the ESPN top 100 list. And that player is none other than Jaden Ivey. He comes in at number 85 on this list. Eric, what are your thoughts on Jaden coming in at number 85?
I like that he's on there. I'm not gonna lie. I think he balled out. Contrary to a lot of what we've seen on the timeline from certain fans and certain viewers, I have no problem with him being on the list. I don't think his number is egregious. It's kind of hard to keep him or really move him up any higher due to his injury and whatnot. But I'm cool with it, especially looking at the names around him. I mean, if it were me, I probably would have moved him up maybe a little bit higher. Like, I think he played better than like Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think I'll probably move him above Tobias. I think Tobias maybe could have moved up a little bit considering his offensive output, who we'll probably get to in a second. So I'm sorry to be bouncing around, but yeah, I like Jaden's placement on here. I don't mind. Again, having a breakout year that he did. Stepping up, I think he did on defense in certain areas. We saw a lot of progression in his jump shot, obviously, and you saw. Even though, again, people always go back to the record, oh, they had a losing record with him. They just played a lot more free and open when he's on the floor. You see how he can complement Cade. You see his passing ability and how it can help stretch things out for the Pistons. And it also adds with his speed and his athleticism, how they like to play up tempo. And he's like the definition of that for the Pistons. So, I like it. I don't have a problem with his placement at all. I think he was well deserving of being on this list.
Yeah, I think he deserves to be on this list too. Some might think that he doesn't because he missed the second half of the year in the playoffs as well, but he obviously showed enough to still make this list. I think that had he been healthy all season, he'd be probably higher on this list. So voters though obviously saw enough from him in half a season, not even really half a season, to reward him with a spot on his list. And you know me, I've already gone on record, bro, saying that I think he's going to be the number 2 on this team in a Jalen Williams type of role as far as being a secondary guy with two-way potential on a contending team. I'm not saying, and I said it before, I'm not saying that he is Jalen Williams or he's a defender of Jalen Williams. J-Dub is a little bit bigger, a little longer, but Jaden is more athletic, and he plays with the same level of energy and effort on both ends of the court. So like I said, I'm not saying he is Jalen Williams today, but he does have the ability to be the same level of impact player for this team on both sides of the ball for sure. So I said that during the playoffs last year. I'm standing 10 toes down on that. And I think with a full offseason to gel with his teammates, something that the guys didn't have last year, while still tracking towards a career season, that means he's only going to get better. And I think he's going to finally prove to all of his doubters that he is an all-star level player, and he will be the clear number 2 on this team next season. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think while he may not ever become the defender that Jay Will is, I think offensively he has all the tools to be better as an offensive player than him. I mean, I think he's a better passer. I think the jump shot is clearly there, the explosiveness, and again, the way he complements the rest of the team, I think it's just a seamless fit. And I think that works to Jay Will's advantage over in OKC, because I feel like the Pistons, they all have certain roles and everybody kind of embraces what they need to do and it fits their skill sets perfectly. I think Jaden's in a perfect position as well to be that number 2. I mean, if you look around at the rest of the roster, like a lot of guys like Duren and Asar, they're not offensively proven or well-rounded as guys like Cade and Ivey are. And even with Tobias, who we'll probably talk about, he has his offensive skill sets and he has his ups as well. But I feel like considering he's a little bit older, we maybe probably have seen the best of him at this point. So I still think Ivy has, a lot of steps to take moving forward in his career. I think he's a perfect fit in terms of what this roster needs. And I still think we're going to see a lot better version of him, assuming his health is, at 100%, which from what we've seen and what we've heard, it looks like he's ready to go and he'll be just fine.
Yeah, he's ready to go. He's definitely ready to go. And when you think about his trajectory, bro, just from year to year, starting with his rookie season, I mean, year 1, right? Rookie season, he basically had to do it by himself, at least on offense, because Cade was hurt for nearly the whole year with his leg injury. Year 2, Monty Williams, enough said, right? Year 3, which was last year, career year. As soon as he gets put in position to be successful, a position that doesn't include 30 plus different starting lineups in one season and being randomly benched by your coach. So I don't think there's really more that realistically we could have asked for him in those first 2 years, considering those circumstances. And there's no reason to think in my mind that he won't continue to play at a high level next year and get better. I mean, that's just me.
Yeah. And that's why, me and you are both staying so high on him. Again, at this point, he had a career year or half a year last season, and I feel like in terms of his development, based on everything you just said, for all that he's been through with 3 different coaches, 400 different roster adjustments and lineups that he's had to go through, I feel like with everything that we've seen from him, he's at where he should be, in my opinion, in terms of his development. I don't think he's behind. Like, are there areas he can improve? For sure. But I don't think he's behind in anything that people are looking for him to do. Like, even when people question or, have issues with the analytic numbers of his finishing, I agree. It can certainly be better. But we saw games and plays where he's hanging in the rim, switching hands, showing the ability to drive downhill, get past his opponents, and be confident enough to at least go for the shot. Like, we have other guys on the roster that are still scared to kind of even take those kind of looks. So, with Ivey's everything that he's been through, it doesn't look like he's shied away from anything that the team has needed. And again, even the Monty Williams era where he was, coming back and forth off the bench and still having the mindset and the confidence to still, like he said before the year, I'm going to still be J.I. He said that out of his own mouth. And he still showed the confidence and the ability to adapt, do what they need to do, not complain, not be a diva on social media. He just adapted, played ball, and it rewarded the Pistons to winning basketball last season. And I think it's going to continue to add on next year too.
100%. 100%. I couldn't have said that any better myself. And that's exactly what Detroit Drew echoed. He said, I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you. So, yeah, I think we're on the same page. Yeah, we see it, bro. We see it. And in this season, I'm going on record saying that everybody else is going to too. Yeah, I'm that confident in his ability and what I've seen from him in his work ethic. Yeah, he's I think it's going to be his breakout season for sure next year, barring injuries, knock on wood. So that takes us to our. Oh, go ahead. You got something else?
No, yeah, I was just going to say, because there's been a lot of conversation I've seen about, like, there's been reports about the market for, guys in shooting guard positions. Like, a lot of conversation been around guys like Cam Thomas and how that could translate to a guy like Ivey. I don't feel like he's going to be in that kind of a situation because Brooklyn is dead in the water for this season. I don't see anything coming out for them. The Pistons need a guy like Ivey to kind of build for their future. So while people question what his market could be or what his contract could be, I still think he's in a position, and the Pistons are in a position where he is needed for, their progression. I feel like if they were to let him go, they would still try to find somebody similar to him. Like, I don't feel like he's too far off, again, from what the team and the roster needs. So I think that's most important in terms of what his future is going to be.
Yeah, and especially considering where we are in the trajectory of our title contention hopes. You know what I mean? Right. Like, this is the perfect kind of player you want. You don't want a guy who can bring in who doesn't fit the timeline of these guys, to where by the time the Pistons' young core is starting to hit their prime, the guy who you got is exiting his. So it's all about timing as well.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely, bro. Next season's going to be fun. Let's go to our next guy who was on this list. And that is Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris comes in right after Jaden Ivey on this list at number 84. So, any thoughts on Uncle T at 84?
Should have been higher. I like him being on the list, but he should be higher right now. Now, maybe you can clarify this. Maybe I'm tripping on what this list is supposed to be. Is this a projection for next season, or is this their ranking for what they did last year?
I was taking it as based on what happened last year, because I feel like we would have guys on this list, more guys on this list, if it was a projection type of list.
Okay, got you. Okay, in that case, yeah, he should be higher than on this list. Again, Tobias, coming in to Detroit after leaving Philly, being a punchline on social media and basically silencing every single one of those doubters. There was no game last year, even though Tobias did have some, struggles early in the season, shooting, scoring overall. Defense was solid all year, adjusted to JB Bickerstaff's system, and I think played some of the best ball of his career. And again, there was no game where like all those jokes were verified of, oh, see, that's the Tobias we thought he was going to be. No, he was really damn good basically all season. And if you look at the way he played on a two-way perspective, hitting the glass the way he did, being that reliable second or third option for the Pistons when they needed it, and, expanding his scoring ways in the post, off the dribble, in different ways outside of just being a spot-up shooter, I think he really answered the call, and I honestly would probably have him somewhere in the 70s like, you can make the argument that he was better than a lot of the guys in front of him. Like, again, I don't think Kuminga should be as high as he is. Nimhard, I don't really like him at 81 above Tobias. I think he could have been higher than that. Kamara from Portland, I think he could have been higher than him. Like, there's some names that you could, probably move on. Even Brandon Ingram, I don't know how he was as high as he was when he was barely playing last season. So, I love what Tobias has brought to this team. I think he's become a staple to what they need moving forward as a veteran. And I feel like he's going to be even more valuable next season based on what their roster looks like right now. I love Uncle T being on here. He should be higher. I think he deserves this spot.
Yeah, I think I would have wanted to see him in the low 80s. I think that would have been fair, but I'm not mad with where they had him. I mean, 84 is mid 80s, but I'm not too mad at that. But one thing that I noticed is that most of these guys on this list, and you mentioned it earlier, bro, don't really have glaring weaknesses in their games. Right. They're pretty well-rounded. They may not be elite in every area, but most of these guys are well-rounded players at the very least. And I think that's why Tobias Harris is on this list. To your point, he's not really top shelf elite at anything, right? Especially at this stage, but he's good at a lot of things. And he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. He's not a bad shooter. He's a pretty good shooter. He's a solid defender, right? He's not a bad athlete. He's not a great athlete. He's average athlete, right? But he's very polished and well-rounded. I know I keep saying that, but he's very well-rounded in what he can bring to the court. And I think his reputation outside of the season before last with Philly, I think that kind of precedes him. He's just been really steady, really consistent, and really reliable his entire career. I think that's why he made this list for sure.
I agree. It was, again, I feel like a lot of people had their jokes ready for Tobias. Again, I think it was more of a Philly issue than a him issue. Giving him the contract he got, the whole situation with Jimmy Butler, like the way, again, it's not even just him alone. Like, we look at their injury problems with Embiid, the Ben Simmons fallout. Like, it's just a lot of things that went wrong. Now, again, the contract issue was its problem, but I don't really look at Tobias as, he's a big issue to why things went the way they did. It was a lot of expectations because of the deals and the money he got prior, and he's always been a very talented player. I just feel like it didn't mesh well with the team that had a lot of turnover with their injuries, and a lot of expectations that all of them couldn't meet, even Tobias included, but I don't think he was at the forefront of it. Coming into a place like Detroit where they're, again, learning how to win, having a lot of young guys around, needing a stretch forward that can shoot and space for them, and just kind of steer them through an 82-game season on what it takes to be successful, be prepared for the regular season and for the postseason. So he checked every box this year, or last season. I think Tobias did a fantastic job. Again, I would put him up a little bit higher, but I'm happy to see him on the list at the very least.
That kind of made me think about something that you just said. I don't know if you got this treatment or not, but there were a bunch of Sixers fans, bro, in my DMs this time last year saying that I'll soon understand why Tobias got traded from Philly, or why he didn't get re-signed by Philly, why they were happy to see him go. They were just telling me, just wait to the playoffs. He's going to disappear. And you touched on it. They were basing this mostly off of his last playoff game with the team, with the Sixers, because he was scoreless in that game. Okay. Yep. Right. But that wasn't the case at all last year when it came to Tobias Harris in the playoffs. This is the guy we got last year. This was not the guy that disappeared in the playoffs like a lot of people were saying. And just some of the things that he accomplished last year, man, he in the playoffs alone, right? Last year in the playoffs, I looked it up. His points, his rebounds, his field goal percentage, which was 48%, his 3-point percentage, which was 44%, and his free throw percentage, which was 100, didn't miss one in the playoffs. All those things went up from the regular season. So that guy right there, he proved all those Sixers fans wrong. And last year he had, like you mentioned, one of his better years in recent memory. And other than the first month and a half of the season, he was consistent. He struggled early, like you said. He wasn't really able to score the ball. We kept saying, man, just hit a corner three, Tobias, please. Right? Yes. He just couldn't knock it down early in the season. But after that, he was very consistent. Once he knew what his role was and everybody else understood how to play off of him, he was a solid scoring option for Cade, especially in the playoffs, while spending a lot of time guarding Cat on the other end. So I think it was that. And I think it was also the fact that the expectation that Sixers fans had for him, he was making $36 million a year. He had a 5-year, $180 million deal. So you're making that much money, the expectation is going to rise, as opposed to $26 million a year, $10 million less with the Pistons. So I think those two things were the biggest reason as to why they were disappointed. And I understand that. But him coming to a place like this with a coach who's going to put him in a position to be successful, right? Allow him to lead. And the expectation on him is not as high as it was with Philly, with the contract and on the court. I think those things helped him when he came here.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on his defense too, because even though Cat's numbers look good throughout the series, the Pistons, especially Tobias, I think he guarded Cat better than anybody else on the roster. They obviously didn't have Beef Stew, and Duren, is not the best on the perimeter. But whenever he was out there guarding him, Tobias even had him in the post. We saw, I think it was Gabe 3 or 4. It was one at LCA where they were jawing at each other crazy.
Yeah.
Tobias wasn't backing down. I love that energy from him, and I think the young guys saw that too as hey, we're here to fight no matter what the score is, no matter what the momentum or the vibe is. We're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think his leadership kind of reflected that. He did a fantastic job. It wasn't barbecue chicken every single time Cat had the ball. He had to earn damn near basically every shot that he got. Like I don't remember a whole lot of clean looks that he had. He had a lot of tough fadeaways, a lot of shot clock expiring shots where he was just jacking stuff up. And that's if it's like if he makes it, he makes it. There's nothing you can do. What they always say, great defense, better offense. You can live with moments like that. And I was really happy to see what Tobias' effort was in the postseason based on what you just said for what his reputation was. I don't think I got too many Sixers fans on my timeline about that. I think they were before the season. I remember seeing it, but as the season went on, boy, they got quiet. It was a whole lot of, where was that for us? It was way more of that than, see, I told you he ain't nothing. Nah, Tobias, he balled out. I think he had one of his better years as a pro last year with the Pistons.
For sure. And to the point of good defense, like I do think Tobias played probably the best defense on Cat because of his quickness. Right, but JD made him take some tough shots. We're gonna get to JD later. Agreed. But he forced Cat into some really tough shots, man. JD wasn't playing bad defense when he was guarding him. He just didn't have the ability to move his feet as quickly sometimes. But even when he did, Cat was making shots behind the backboard, falling out of bounds. Crazy shot from like 3 or 4 feet, 5 feet behind a 3-point line, knocking it down all bottoms. Is like sometimes better offense, good offense beats good defense, right? So we're gonna get to JD later, but. Tobias did play solid defense on him. And I think, he definitely was inspiring to the young guys and giving them that confidence that they could win the series. And they were right there. So, Tobias, where he's at 84, I'm totally cool with that. I'm good with that. Anything else on Tobias?
No, I'm very excited to see him. I know a lot of people saw his open gym run on social media. I know you posted the clip. I posted mine as well. He looks good. Obviously, he gonna look great playing against guys from Lifetime Gym or whatnot. But hey, he looked like he's in good shape. His shots looking good. It was one of the first times I've seen him dunk the ball with one hand. If anybody knows Tobias Harris, he always got that real polite dunk with 2 hands that he goes up with. This is the one time I saw him go up with one where he do it at the YMCA. Like, come on, man, crank that in the league too while you're doing it, bro.
You gotta save your legs so you can do that in the game,
right?
Bro.
Exactly.
These runs don't mean nothing.
Exactly.
All right, man. Let's move on to the final player to make this list, and this comes as no surprise. Cade Parker Cunningham, coming in hot at number 12, almost cracking the top 10. Eric, holla at me. How do you feel about Cade Cunningham coming in at number 12 on 100 NBA players list?
First and foremost, Cade, happy birthday, big dog.
Happy birthday.
24 is treating you well, man. There we go.
Happy birthday to
one time for Cade, man. Him and Chauncey. I keep forgetting him and Chauncey got the same birthday. That's so fire. I love that.
That's crazy.
Happy birthday to Cade, man. Exactly. Absolutely. I love his placement. I'm kind of surprised they had him as high as he did. I'm surprised he was above Donovan Mitchell. I'm surprised he was above Evan Mobley. I mean, not to me. If it was on my list, I would have put him up there for sure. But I'm surprised ESPN had him as high as they did. I thought they were going to do him greasy and put him back like closer to 20 than 10. But I love where he's at. Again, I think he could have been a little bit higher. I wouldn't have put Jalen Williams higher than him on my list. But like I tweeted before, when you win a championship, it offers you some different favoritism. And I'm okay with that. Ain't got no issue with that at all. Hey, it's not egregious to put him above Cade, knowing how good of a player he is, the two-way value that he adds. I'm fine with that. I don't even say he's graduated, because last season was so egregious, putting Alex Caruso, KCP, Kobe White, all these role players that are nowhere close to the player that Cade Cunningham is. Having him at 67 last year was just ridiculous. So, again, the guys that he's at, the area that he's at now, I think he probably could have, on my list, I would have probably snuck him in at maybe 9. I think he has an argument to be as high as 9 and as low as 15, if you ask me. So, I'm cool with it. A fantastic all-NBA season, making it to the playoffs. Not shying away from that postseason spotlight at all. He showed up in every single game, even the games where people would say he struggled shooting in game 1. He still had a double-double and still was, facilitating and making plays all over down the game. So, yeah, I'm totally fine with where he's at 12. I think he can move higher as soon as this season, but for right now, I think that's a perfect spot for him.
Agreed with all those points. And I don't know if you guys remember, Eric, I know you do, but when Cade did that skit with Funny Marco last season, Marco asked him what his favorite number was. And do you guys recall what he said? He said 67.
Yeah. Yep. So that wasn't on accident. That was not on accident.
So look, after that skit, I asked Ashton about it. I asked him if that was intentional, and he confirmed it was. So Ashton, for anyone who doesn't know, is Cade Cunningham's cousin. So Cade probably felt disrespected by that ranking, and with good reason. You mentioned it already, but there were also guys like Emmanuel Quickly, who was above him, Chris Middleton, who was above him, Josh Hart was above him. You mentioned Kobe White, Derek Lively, RJ Barrett, OG Anunoby, who got cooked by Cade last year over and over again in the playoffs.
Insanity.
All above Cade.
Insanity.
All above Cade. So Cade made one of the biggest jumps from last year to this year on the court and in these rankings. 55 spots. And a lot of the questions, it's funny, a lot of the questions, bro, that people had about Cade before last season are the same questions that they now have about Jaden Ivey going into this season. Can he stay healthy?
True. Yeah.
Is he a true star level player? Is he just getting empty stats on a bad team? Is he a leader? All these questions, right? And Cade answered all those questions just a year later. You know what I mean? Like last season was also the first that Cade was both fully healthy from beginning to end of the season and having a competent roster around him. And just with that, he shut all that nonsense down, and it only took 1 year. So after one season with that recipe, which isn't really asking a ton, he's already established himself as a starter in this league. Didn't take long. Just needed a good situation.
This list right here changed my opinion about something that I had with Cade last year. There was so much discussion about the most improved player list. If it were me, I don't have a vote. I'm a beat reporter, but I don't have a vote. If I did, I would not have voted for Cade to win most improved player. But this is the problem I have. Y'all had him at 67 on your list, and he jumps all the way up to 12, goes all-pro, all-star year, makes the playoffs, does it, I don't want to say single-handedly, but does it without other stars around him, does it without his co-star next to him. There's other players that were in and out of the lineup. He still answered the call, and he can't reap the benefits of that. That bothers me a lot because, again, they changed the conversation towards the end of the year. Oh, well, he's the number 1 pick. He's supposed to be this good. Like, well, you didn't say that when he was 67 last year. And another problem I have with that, too, is if and again, he was 67, not really because of his skill set. He had high turnovers. The 3-point wasn't there yet. But the main reason why he was so low is because of the winning percentage for the team. And if that's the case, how the hell is Victor Wembanyama 5?
Right.
Per their rank, per their logic. Again, I have no problem with Wemby being 5. If it's on skills alone, he deserves it. Giving you 24 and 12, I think he had last year. He's playing like he can win DPOY for the next decade if he wants to.
Yeah.
But again, based on what their logic was, Cade's not winning, so we can't give him this. Wemby's not winning a damn thing. So where's the consistency in that? Like that bothers me with a lot of the voting in terms of how they give out awards in these kind of rankings. I just like to see a little bit more consistency in what they do.
That's very fair. No, because it seemed like the goalpost is kind of moving as far as, like you mentioned earlier, is this projection or is this based off of last season? If it's projection, then I can see him being at number 5. If you're looking at what he could do going into next season. But on the flip side, if you're going projection, why aren't other guys from the Pistons on this roster who are going to or on this list who are going to get better, right? So the goalpost is kind of moving. It's not really consistent. That's why it's just a list. ESPN list doesn't really mean much, but it is something to talk about. But you make a good point there. I think with regard to with Cade, I think for me, I think 12 is good for him. I wouldn't put it any higher or any lower because he's 23 and he just got his first taste of the playoffs last year. And I think he played well last year against the Knicks in his first action, but I did feel like he left some meat on the bone. Pause. The next step for him, I think, is advancing now in the playoffs. I think that goes into the voting process is what did you do? How did you perform in the playoffs? And I think with him making the All-NBA third team, I think that's 15 total guys. So having him at 12 basically means they only think one third teamer is better than him. I'm cool with that. That makes sense to me. So by that logic, I think he's right where he should be for now. But when you look at guys like Jalen Brunson, who advanced in the playoffs, made more plays in critical moments in the playoffs, I think that kind of goes into the voting process, especially when you look at guys like Jalen Williams, like you mentioned, who dropped a 40 piece, like Heisenberg mentioned. I think that goes into it. Like, how far can you advance? What do you do in those critical moments? Dropping a 40 piece in the finals, I'm sure that played a part of him being where he is, right? Ahead of Cade. I'm sure that those little snapshots in time, those moments in time, are what people remember, whether right or wrong. So I think that's okay. I think right at 12 is perfect for him. But I think next year, I think he's going to crack the top 10 because I think the Pistons are going to advance past the first round. And I think he's going to find himself in the MVP conversation for sure.
Yeah, he's my dark horse pick for sure this season. I haven't I'm supposed to do a ballot with clutch points. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm trying to give an unbiased selections for him.
Good luck.
But I think Cade should be in that discussion. Again, if they loved Jokic so much for what he did, and I think it was Cade's rookie year, 2021, 2022, where Denver finished in a 6th seed. And I remember a big point of why they were so in love with what he did and why he won MVP was because he did it with so little help around him. Well, that's been the story of Cade's entire career. So he should be getting a lot more consideration, assuming they finish. Like, I wouldn't give him the 6th seed if he were to win MVP or be in that conversation. Pistons got to be at least a 4 or 3 seed at minimum to kind of, be in those kind of conversations. I think they're very capable of making that happen. But yeah, I'm very excited to see Cade, mentioned those conversations this year.
For sure. That's a great point. So guys, these were the 3 Pistons to make the list. And I think that they were, represented pretty well. However, missing from this list were 2 guys that many people were expecting to see. And those 2 guys were Jaylen Duren and Asar Thompson. Eric, I'm coming to you. On this. Between the 2 of these guys, who do you think would have had a better case to crack this list?
Ooh, okay. So I definitely think they both should be on it. Who had the better case?
Yeah.
That's a good
If
question.
they were on it, who would be higher?
Yeah, who would be higher? I think Asar would be higher just because he's an elite defender. I think I'll stick with Asar for right now. Yeah, I think considering his upside as a defender and what he did this year, I mean, a lot of people are going to remember the last shot that he had against, or not he had, but the last shot he allowed against Jalen Brunson. But I mean, outside of that, he did a really damn good job against him in a lot of spots. Was really spot on as their number 1 defender for most of the season when he played. Wish he would have played the whole season, kind of like Ivy. But they're obviously dealing with the situations. But yeah, I think Asar could be probably anywhere between maybe 75 through 85, based on the guys that are in front in that list. I think again, it was 2-way ability. I think a lot of his offense, can be slept on just because he's such a bad shooter, but he is still very effective as a passer on the second level. Even when he was running the show as a primary guy, like he did still have spots in moments where he looked like he could be a focal point guy, distributing the ball and whatnot. And obviously, the ability to jump out the gym, dunking on guys, and crashing the glass as well as he did. I think he would probably have the best case in terms of how high he would be over Duren. But again, I definitely think they both should be on that list.
Okay, gotcha. So let's stick with Asar for a second.
Okay.
I want to start with the fact that he missed. We got to preface it. We got to set it up, right? So he did miss all of last offseason,
right,
with his blood clot issue, and the beginning of the last year. And not having that time, those 8 months off, really hindered his development, his conditioning, getting a chance to work on his game. Those things were a non-factor for him. And I think that had he had that, there'd be a good chance that he would then find himself on this list. But that, along with the fact that some of his weaknesses were exposed last season, is what I think kept him off. Because just looking at the numbers, he shot 60% from the free throw line last year. He shot 20% from 3-point, and he averaged 10 points. So if we're keeping it a stack, right? Just keeping it real unbiased, you can't shoot 60% from the line, 20% from 3, average 10 points, and be upset that he's not on the top 100 list. So while I think that a case could have been made, I'm not surprised that he didn't crack the top 100 for those reasons. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I'm like, there were some people on social media that were trying to push back to me saying that it's surprising that he wasn't on the list. I'm not going to crash out about him not being on the list. But I do understand your argument 100%. Like, he has some very glaring, parts of his game that were definitely exposed. Again, I don't think he's a perfect defender yet. I think he gets a lot of credit, or a little more than he probably deserves. Like, again, he's not perfect yet. He still has to work on not fouling, defending with his body, using that athleticism and speed and length instead of, being grabby and flicking with his hands so often. I think that's an area where he can improve on. And I think obviously with, if you're not going to be able to shoot, you're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. That's the difference between him and his brother. His brother will go get it, and he won't be apologetic about it. They call Amen the evil twin between those two, because Asar does play like the nicer one between them. I want to see him throw somebody on the ground like Tyler Hero got last season. I want to see that energy from him. Like, he's a real nice dude. Like, when he got, I think, what was it, against Cleveland, where Jarrett Jack cracked him in the fourth quarter. Like, I want to see him get up and, like, square up on it. Like, yo, what's up with that? So he's got some improvements to make. Again, I understand him not being on the list. If I were to make it, I would have put him on it, but the glaring holes in his game make sense to an extent for why they may have left him off. If he can do a little bit more as a scorer to make up for that deficiency, then I think he'll make a much easier case. But it's a lot more questioning about his scoring than certainty about his scoring because of how bad of a jump shooter that he is.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And for me, I'm just going off what I think they're going off of. Because I looked at the guys on the list, and once again, most of these guys on this list don't have glaring weaknesses. Almost all of them. Like, they don't have where they're just really struggling in the area. You know what I mean? So that, and honestly, that's why I think Jaden made it and Asar didn't, because they both missed time, right? But Jaden still made it. But you think about Jaden, other than Cade, Jaden Ivey is the most complete player on this team. He's not glaringly bad at anything. If you want to argue that he's a below average defender, fine. The numbers suggest that he's actually a slightly above average defender, but I guess that doesn't matter. But the narrative on him being a bad defender is overblown. And
I totally agree.
Yeah, like, bro, he's got the physical gifts that most people don't, and he's a willing defender. So if you have those two variables, you're gonna be at least an average defender. If you're willing to defend, and if you have the gifts to stay in front, and you're strong and you're tall, like, that's half the battle right there. Now you just gotta learn how to play within the system. And he does have room to grow defensively, for sure, but he's not a bad defender. So the point for me here is that with Jaden, there's no glaring weakness with him, and that's why I think he made the list. Asar does have a glaring weakness. He's got a couple glaring weaknesses, right? By NBA standards, he's a bad shooter, right? By NBA standards, the numbers bear it out, and the way the defenses guard him on the perimeter, it shows that they give him room because they don't trust he's going to make the shot. He was often left wide open because of that. So also his handle sometimes can be shaky.
Yeah.
So we always talked about it last year. Slow down, sir. Slow down. He's so fast that sometimes he just moves a little bit too quickly and he gets out of control. He makes great plays and then he makes bad plays. Like, he makes a play on the break behind the back, Euro step. You know what I mean? Like, he makes really incredible plays, but then he makes plays where he's got a 2-on-1 break and he loses the ball out of bounds. And it happened not consistently, but more times than you'd like to see it. Right. So to me, those two things were really key pieces into why I think he didn't make the list, because of the weaknesses. So defensively, though, we already know he's the best defender on the team. It's not close. If you want to argue Stu, I'm here for that, right? But that's it. I've often called Asar the backbone of the Pistons defense. That's why I call him Tasmanian Thompson, right? Because he's literally a menace defensively. He's wreaking havoc all over the court. So while you could argue that he has the highest ceiling, right? I think that's fair. Meaning he could possibly make the biggest jump between now and next year's list. But today, he's got some weaknesses, some glaring weaknesses. So I think that is what the list may be based on, at least in part. Not potential, but where are you today going in the next season? And I think that's why he didn't make the list.
Yeah, I think he needs to do what we saw Ivy do this season or last season, where we saw, like, even in the preseason, we saw Ivy coming down in transition, and we saw his ability to slow down his speed and then when to turn it up, when to like kind of slow down his dribble or use like a big stride step to get to the hoop. Like, Asar needs to take that next step. Like, again, it wasn't a whole lot of confidence. And you could argue that Asar, even considering he's got longer arms and he's taller, he's probably more athletic than Ivy is. And like, that's not a knock or a slight or an insult either way. Yeah, as long as the confidence is there, that's going to open up a whole lot for you. So again, it's simply just having the confidence to do it, because defenses can smell if you have that or not. That's when they back up and say, okay, we dare you. And like, Ivy got to a point where he was getting dared and he made them pay for it with that jumper. A lot of teams weren't sold on it early until he made them start adjusting. And we need to see a little bit more of that, that confidence from Asar, you know, offensively as well. The one other thing I wanted to push back on just a little bit. Yeah. At least on the list. The Pistons, I think, are fine in terms of where they at. The one person that really bothers me on this list is Mitch Robinson. He's 91 on this list. And when you're talking about glaring weaknesses, he has glaring weaknesses offensively. And we saw it in the postseason. And dog played 15 games, I think, in the regular season. There's no way in hell he should be 91 on this list at all. That's probably the name I have the biggest problem with. Even, just 91. I don't care, bro. He should not be on this list based on what his resume was last year.
He has some friends in higher places. I'm gonna venture out and say,
he has to.
And that's no disrespect, but you're right. He's one of the few guys who's like, dude is nothing on offense. Like, he doesn't really give you anything on offense. So yeah, I definitely agree. He's one of the guys. 91 is low on the list of 100, but it's still too high for him. He shouldn't be on this list at all, in my opinion. So that's a good take. That's a good take for sure. Yeah, and I think that kind of showed itself in the playoffs last year too, when he was playing against some of our bigs who should have been on the list. But anyway. Yep. All right. Let's go to JD. We covered Asar. Let's go to JD. So JD was the other guy that many people were surprised to not see on this list. I think he has a bigger case than Asar for this list. But Eric, what are your thoughts on him not making the list?
I think it's a little crazy. Again, I would throw Mitch Rob out the window and put Duren in his spot. Right. You know, Duren started off a little slow defensively last season. He was the one to admit it at the end of the year. I started off soft. I didn't play as good as I should have, but he turned it on big time. And even when he wasn't turning it on, he was still at least making an impact in certain ways, and it helped him grow in other ways as well once that defense started turning on. He was steady on the glass all year. I think he's still one of the best rebounders in the game. He formed, I think, one of the best tandems in the NBA with Cade Cunningham as a lob threat. Cade and him look like Stafford and Megatron did, where Stafford would just throw it up and say, hey, go make a play, big dog, and he did. Duren did the exact same thing. I think about this play all the time. The pass early in the season where I think they were playing Miami, Cade is posting up and Duren is cutting down. There's a guy guarding Duren, and then there's a dude in the paint, and Cade threw it in the perfect spot where only Duren was able to get it, and he was able to flush it down. I think he had another pass like that against Sacramento on the road where he was able to put it in a position where nobody else could go grab it. I think off of that alone, on top of his playmaking that got a lot better towards the end of the season, I think off all of that, and again, while he's still a big man and I think he can improve with his free throws, he's not a liability where teams were able to do what they did to Mitch Rob, which is hack him and try to get him off the floor. They weren't doing that with Duren. Unfortunately, his defense and his fouling took him off the floor, but there were still games and stretches where he figured that out and was one of the most dominant players for the Pistons in each game. So Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy. Yup, the lob against San Antonio, that's another one he had. He had a lot of plays where it looked like he was ready to jump out the gym. I still think he's going to break the blackboard at least once in his career. But he 100% should be on this list. Again, one of the best rebounders in basketball, grew as a defender, grew as a passer, and expanded his game and his scoring a little bit to still be effective when the Pistons needed him most. He should be on this list without question.
Agreed. Detroit Drew says Duren passing is underrated, which is very true especially for a big man. And Heisenberg, that's a great point. He had some a few lobs last year, not even just lobs, just on the break, just going up one hand and just throwing it down on top of people. The NBA Cup game against the Heat, against Miami, we caught the oop from Cade at the buzzer, right? To go to overtime, I believe. That one, he got up. So it's like he has we got so many athletes on this team, man. We got so many young athletes who have an extremely high ceiling. So for me with JD, you made great points there. You touched on a few things I'm going to get to as well. The connection between him and Cade was one of the staples of the offense, right? Yeah. They were the most productive in the league last year. They connected last year on 84 dunks, which was the most between any guard and big man combination. So JD, like a few Pistons last year, came out the gate slow. You touched on that. He admitted how he's playing soft to start the year, which you mentioned. That's maturity for a 21-year-old. I was happy to hear that from him because I often see him. I'm like, bro, I will just watch him early in the season. I was like, is he hurt? Like he just didn't have the same amount of intention to go out and just dominate on both ends of the court like he can. So I was happy to hear him say that. And once he committed to his role, being a rim protector, rebounder, a finisher offensively, making passes when it's there, playmaker, he became a top 12 big man in my opinion. And I think if he came into the season last year as locked in as he was by the end of last year, he would have made the list.
I agree. I mean, for how he played and what they needed for the Pistons, again, there weren't a whole lot of times where, because again, I like Stu and what he brings off the bench, but even though Stu is a better defender, JD just gives you a different level of athleticism and finishing and just excitement in terms of what that half-court offense brings. I think that was the staple of their half-court offense was that, that pick-and-roll dynamic. And high credit to Cade, too, with that, because you have to – like Cade's understanding of timing with his passing, because he understands, okay, if a defender takes a step here, I know to get the ball out of my hands here. Like he knew when the perfect time to throw a pass up to JD. There wasn't a whole lot of times where, the defense was able to anticipate it and get there. Maybe towards the end of the season in the playoffs, they keyed in on it a lot, but throughout the regular season, teams really struggled to stop that. And I think when you got a 6'7" guard coming downhill, you don't have a choice but to step up with him. And then when you got a guy as big and athletic and as strong as Duren is, you're not going to stop his dunk. Like I had never seen anyone block a dunk from Jaylen Duren. So no, he needs to be on this list. I don't understand how he was able to be off. I can understand the argument you made of why he would have a better case than Asar, because while I do think he has weaknesses, they're not as glaringly bad as Asar's jump shot. So I agree with you on your case and on your understanding of that matter.
That was what it was, bro. That was the only thing. I think it's levels. It's levels to it, right? And I think that was the difference for me. JD also is one of the few players who averaged a double-double and didn't make the list. He averaged 12 and 10 with 3 assists. Right. He also shot 70% from the field last year. Crazy. And he played 78 games out of 82 last year. So, and more importantly, in the playoffs, like Tobias, he upped his rebounds, his assists, his blocks, and he shot 82% from the free throw line, which is great for a big man. So I think overall he shot like 67%. That's not good enough. JD's better than that. I want to see him at least in the 70s. At least in the 70s. He's got the touch. It's just a matter, I think, for him, just reps, confidence, and just focus. He's young. So I'm confident that's going to improve. But I want to see him get to that 70% range. But just off the things that he did in the playoff, we talked about how playoff moments are important. I think those things should have at least got him into the top 100 for sure. But one more thing on him, I want to see him next season or this offseason, or whatever we're going to call it. I want to see him add a midi to his game. I just want to see a midi. Because then I was thinking about it. If the lob threat, right? If the lob isn't there out of the pick and roll, him just being able to catch a pass from Cade or Jaden out of the short roll and then being able to shoot the midi, if the baseline pass to a cutting Asar isn't there, that's going to be huge because him being able to knock down that midi is going to draw the defense in, which is going to leave Asar wide open to cut under the basket, right? And we saw that happen last year without JD having that midi. So if he has that, that opens up the offense so much more. And I think that's going to be huge for him. I don't want to see him taking threes. I don't want to see that. If he ever does, okay, fine, maybe 5-6 years. But now just work your way out. I don't think I ever want to see him consistently shooting threes, to be honest. But
I totally agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? But like just the midi game, like Jermaine O'Neal type of game. Just the midi, 10 to 15 footer, free throw line, knock it down consistently. If he does that, he's going to be a perennial all-star. Period. Like that's going to change so much for him and for the Pistons offense. But aside from that, his impact in the second half of the year, bro, was definitely felt. And the Pistons are going to need him to continue to grow year over year to become that contender that we're trying to be. But like we mentioned, there's no rush. He's 21. And the sky is the limit for him for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that midi can change a lot too, because not only do I think he has the touch to make it happen, I feel like he also has the handle to hit you with that up fake and then go by you and dunk too. So the second he starts commanding that attention, that's really going to be where it changes a lot, because if he gets the midi and they start collapsing in on it and try to contest, he's going to be able to be quick enough and has a strong enough handle. We see a lot of the last season where he was bringing the ball up and trying to facilitate and whatnot. So I didn't love that, but if he's able to be confident from 15 feet away with a quick up fake, 2 dribbles, and boom on somebody's head, I think that's going to be huge for this team. I think he's going to have that versatility. He's worked on it a lot with Cade. There was some stretches during pregame where a lot of times when they do their pregame, they kind of work on their own things, but there were areas where they would do a pick and roll together, and then K would, flip it behind his back and then see if JD can knock down the 15-footer. I want to see that become a bit of a staple. Again, their connection opens up a lot in terms of how that half-court offense works, and I'm really excited to see how they expand on that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I don't think JD can do those things. Like I've seen him, I forgot who it was against, where he went up for a shot, blocked it with one hand, cupped the ball, caught it on the way down, and then went coast to coast and laid the ball up. And Stu was on the sideline jumping, going crazy. Yeah, I forgot who that was. I'm trying to remember
what team it was on. Yeah, I can't remember, but I definitely remember the play too.
Yeah. Chad, if you guys know, chat, chime in. But so he can do it. He can definitely do it. But as far as defining roles, we always talk about it. He may be able to do this, but for this team right now, we just need this. Right? To just focus on the role, the things that we need you to do. We got Cade, we got Jaden, we got Asar. We got guys who can do that. So for me, I just want to see him focus on those things. But yeah, if he gets that midi, like our dog King is saying, what's going on, King? King says, if I was coach, the whole team would be developing midis. King and I talked often last year about Stu, and even the year before last, when Monty had him shooting threes, we were like, just have him just start with the midi game. We went to a game, we were there early, and we were just watching him warm up, and I think he made like 15 straight midis. Stu did, just easily. So it's like, just work your way out instead of just trying to go from playing center your whole career up until the NBA and then start launching threes. So, I'm with King on that for sure. Shout out to you, bro. Definitely think the whole team. Cade's already on that. Cade is the midi king for this team. He's going to be approaching Shea level, I think, pretty soon.
He going to be coaching them out. He going to be coaching them all on that midi.
They going to be in the gym.
Midi school. Yeah. I'm here for
Shout
it.
out King. Yeah, for sure. Okay, Detroit Drew. That was Brooklyn. Okay, thank you. Exactly. When JD cupped the ball, caught it, and just shot down the court, coast to coast. Nice little layup. Yeah, that was cool. So his ceiling is limitless, man. Like it's crazy. Agree. But that's why I had him with a better chance than Asar to make the list, just because you mentioned the levels of the weaknesses that they have right now. And I think JD doesn't have a weakness that is as glaring as the shot making for Asar as of right now. So we'll see how that transpires going into the next season. Heisenberg says the problem with these big men getting good at threes is that they end up falling in love with it. Yes, preach. And then they just want to hang out on the perimeter, i.e. Cat and B. Well said, bro. Well said. 100% agree. That's what I don't want JD to fall into, because he has the ability to stretch the floor a little bit, not consistently yet, and not in games yet. We've seen him all season, shooting threes and things like that. But within the construct of an offense, putting the players in their best positions doesn't result in him shooting threes. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think Cat is a great example of that. Cat needs to be in that post. For me, like, he can shoot the long ball, whatever, but he is not in the post nearly as much as I think he should be. But, that's just me. And same thing with Joel Embiid, who's even better post player, right? And yet he's on the perimeter all the time, always shooting jumpers, the little midi. It's just like, Yeah, they fall in love with it. And I think that's a big problem. And I hope JD does not fall into that for sure. Go ahead.
One thing I like about JB Bickerstaff's coaching is he draws up plays and he works on things that best suit what their team is good at. Because, we've asked him before, like he said that he doesn't love how so many teams are just dying to shoot threes all the time, or, how you see the big man basically, how they were with guys like KG or Tim Duncan or Shaq back in the day, to now where they want to shoot threes all the damn time. Like, he said he misses having that. And I think having a guy like Duren, where, again, he has the touch to be able to knock down a midi, he'll be able to add that to their repertoire as well, and it's not going to look clunky when they do it. It would make sense instead of, hey, we need you to start shooting threes because the analytics make sense to do that. Like, nah, that's not their game. The Pistons are really good at playing their game. Cade shoots middies, even though everyone else don't like middies. Like, Ivy likes going to the hoop. Asar's, a passer. Duren likes to do what he does. And it's the stuff and the talent that it fits them. It's not what fits today's game because that's what the numbers say. They like to play their game. The Pistons make you play their game. They're not going to play like the Celtics. They're going to play Detroit basketball, and that's why they saw a lot of the success they got last year.
For sure. Ryan says Duren's potential better in the post or shooting. I think immediately as of right now, I think the midi for him will be good. I think the post is going to take time. The post games take time to develop if you don't have it when you're already in the league, right? So I think that's something that will take a few years for him to really get polished with. Maybe develop a couple moves, as a fourth, or fifth option offense in the offensive side of the ball. But I'm not running plays for him in the post like the Pistons did with Andre Drummond. And I think Jaylen Duren is a better basketball player, but I still don't think that's a strength for him. I think it'd be much easier for him to focus on the midi because I saw him at Memphis in college knocking it down. I saw his touch in college. So I know it's there already. I didn't see him really doing too much of a dream shake and like how Olajuwon does, right, in the post. So I think for him, just getting that 15-foot, whether it's the corner, whether it's the elbow, whether it's the free throw line, wherever, just work on that and then work your way out. I think that would be the best thing for him right now. And Ryan also says, Duren hits those free throws, he can make exactly. If you can knock down free throws, you can knock down a midi in rhythm, right? Because at the line, you're not in rhythm. You gotta kind of create your own rhythm. So I think I definitely think him knocking down that 15-footer should be one of the priorities offensively for him for sure.
I think I agree with you. I was going to say maybe it will be in the post just because I feel like if they can get him in situations, dude is huge, bro. I know there's conversations like constantly on social media about how tall he is. It don't matter if he's 7 foot or not. He plays like a 7-footer. I don't care if he's 6'10". Yep. I don't care if you pull out a measuring tape and he's actually 6'9". He don't play like he's 6'9". He plays like a whole 97-footer with his game. So I think if you get him close enough to the basket, he's not going to need, too much footwork if you get him on the right guy. Okay. He's not, like, to me, no disrespect to dude because I love him. Shout out to Andre Drummond. There were still moments where he was a little clumsy sometimes where he was trying to post up. I don't see that from Duren a lot. Like, sometimes he can be a little bit if he's outside or further away from the hoop. But when he's close to the hoop and he's right there and he's patient with it, if you give him enough time, he's dunking it on your head and everybody just clears out and say, all right, let him have it. Like, I think that's still a big part of his game. Again, if you get him close enough and if they can run sets, and considering that he's a good passer as well, if he starts seeing doubles, if you find Duncan Robinson on the wing or Cade or Ivy on the wing, that gets open looks for them. So I think just off of his size and some of what his passing offers as well, I think you can make an argument that his post up could be, what has a little bit more potential. But I can see both sides for sure.
For sure. And I feel you on that too. I mean, you think about who he had as an assistant coach, at Memphis. He had Rasheed Wallace over there with him.
Facts.
Go along with Larry. You know what I mean? So Rasheed Wallace is one of the best post players of all time, in my opinion, as far as being able to get a bucket in the post when he needs to, whenever he wants with ease. Yeah. So I could definitely see a case being made because I'm sure he picked up some things along the way from Rasheed when he was, under his tutelage playing for Memphis. So I can see it. And you mentioned the height too. Yeah. JD is 6'10". We both seen him up close. He's 6'10". Maybe he's gotten tall. Who knows? But even if he's just 6'10", he's got a 7'5" wingspan. Yep. We talked about guys like Naz Reid, who we were looking at. Who I wanted last year, and now people were saying, "Well, he's only 6'9", 6'10". I said, "Yeah, he's got a 7'4" wingspan. So he actually is about close to 7 feet when he puts his hands up." You know what I mean? So definitely think there's a case to be made on both sides, and that's the fun part. Is that there's potential with either because he's so young and he's so gifted. Now it's about just polishing those things one thing at a time, 1 year at a time, getting better incrementally. So the sky, like I mentioned for the 1,000th time, is the limit for Mr. Jaylen Duren for sure at the young age of 21. All right.
Totally agree.
So now, bro, let's hit a couple real quick. Heisenberg says, I would love for JD to study some Adrian Dantley and Kevin McHale film and practice those post moves in the offseason. Listen, bro, Kevin McHale, in my opinion, is a top 5 post player of all time. That dude's footwork in the paint was stupid. It was ridiculous. Like Charles Barkley says, the toughest player to defend the post was Kevin McHale, hands down.
I'm with that.
I think guys like Hakeem Olajuwon are in that conversation, but Kevin McHale is right there. He's right there in that conversation because of his footwork and his touch. So Heisenberg, you're dead on. I wish we could have somebody like him work with him being a Celtic. I don't see it happening. But if we can get somebody, I wish Sheed would come back. If we had Sheed here to continue to work with him, man, what? Man, yeah. I don't know. That's just wishful thinking. Go ahead.
I like to see Cade offer some pointers 2 and 2. I think Cade is the best post-up player on this team.
Agreed.
And it's not just because he's a 6'7" point guard. Cade's footwork was spectacular in college.
I agree.
Like, I think he could really take a lot from him in his game, too. Like, I think we heard Ron Holland talking about him watching a lot of Cade's film and how he got downhill, how he posted up. I want to see Duren in that same film room. I think he can soak up some knowledge from him, too.
That's a great point. That's a great point, bro, for sure. Asar was recently talking about how one time he was talking with his brother on the interview. He was saying how Cade posted him took him all the way from the dog walked him down from the 3-point line all the way down to right under the hoop, just posting him, just walking him down. He's so strong, bro. He couldn't do anything with him. So yeah, that's to your point. Yeah.
People don't realize how damn good this kid is. They don't see it yet. It's okay. It's coming. Like Cade is all the way special. I ain't seen nobody be able to lock him down. I've seen him maneuver through double teams in college. Like I love still going back to his college tape right now, playing like an NBA player against college dudes. Like he's so polished, and I think he can offer a lot to a lot of his teammates too. So yeah, Pistons got the perfect franchise guy for what they need.
Yes, they do. In all areas, not just on the basketball court, but just in general, as far as representing Detroit, as far as keeping his nose clean, not being in all the tabloids and just being low key, not all over social media, which I love that he's not all over social media. What you got? What's up?
Yeah, what do you think about him being a celebrity now? I know we got more to talk about, but what do you think about him taking pictures with Gunna and being on Jimmy Fallon, sitting up there with the suit on, with the chain, hanging with Ari Lennox? What do you think about celebrity Hollywood Cade out here now?
The best thing to me was when he gave him those buffs. No better gift you can give anybody as a Detroiter. And then when Jimmy put him on, and they just fit him just fit him so well, it looked like he had owned them things for 10 years. So, but yeah, it's fun to see it, man. Like going back to last year when he started getting national publicity on NBA on TNT inside the NBA, he always handles himself well. He just has that about him. Ashton always talked about that. He's always just been ready whenever the lights come on.
Right.
You know, he's always been a performer. When he played quarterback when he was younger, played football, he was always just that guy. That was, okay, we live, let's go. And he's always kind of been like that. And that transfers to the basketball court when the lights are the brightest. So yeah, 100%, man. I love it for him, especially considering what he had to endure the first few years. The fact that he didn't jump off the boat. Yeah. And he didn't make a fuss, didn't complain. We saw him kind of staring into space sometimes, like thinking to himself, what in the world is going on? But he never publicly complained. He never blamed anybody. He always took accountability as the guy of this team. He stuck up for his guys. He said, we're not this bad. Like, he did everything you want him to do. So it's just like for him to be able to get these things now, he more than deserves it because he's been consistent as a player and a person since he's been here. And now the whole world is starting to understand what we've already known.
Yeah, in the words of Kendrick, he deserves it all. I love seeing what he did. For like you said, you couldn't have put it more perfect. Like from the struggles that they had, the turnover and the turmoil with the front office and just things being really uncertain and him still being able to sign that extension, coming back and saying, hey, we gonna make this happen. During that Monty Williams year, when it was my first season being credentialed, but I was only at a few games. One of the last games I was at was the game where they set the record for the most losses in a row. And Cade sat up there and said, all right, let's do it. And he owned a lot of it. He said, hey, I need to be better. No matter what else is going on, I need to be better too with what's going on. My numbers can be this, but if I'm gonna be the guy, I gotta be better. So yeah, to see him in the spotlight now, getting the admiration in the All-Star game, being all NBA, being on TV, I think think he was in a commercial. Like, he's done a lot that he 100% deserves, man. It is really cool to see, especially from a Detroit standpoint, where Detroit is the lunch pail and, hard hat and all that. I want us to be Hollywood too, man. Like, let's have some Hollywood style and flair to it. The Lions are getting it with St. Brown and Hutch and all these commercials.
Right.
Give Cade the same treatment, man. He's deserved it. He's got a great personality, and I think it's cool that it's kind of starting to reflect now within the league.
Two quick things. It was so dope last year to see him on the bench in the fourth quarter with the game firmly in hand, and the guys are on the bench just smiling and laughing. It's so I would see that so many times, over the years with great teams. By the fourth quarter, they're chilling because they got a huge lead. They're on the bench in their warm-ups, cracking jokes, laughing. The vibes are high. Usually he'd be in the bench in the fourth quarter because we were getting blown out.
Right.
Not because we were blowing somebody else out. So it was nice to see him last year smiling, happy, excited, as if he was contemplating what the future might look like on the sideline, while other guys were getting an opportunity, like Ron Holland got to put up 26 points as a career high in one of those games, right? So it's just cool to see guys get the opportunity and guys like Cade be able to just chill and relax and preserve his body a little bit. Right. But more importantly, just be able to kind of just soak in the success that they're now having. That was one of the biggest things for me. Yeah, exactly. That's what Detroit Dude just said. Glad to see smiles instead of the Cade desk. Right. The Cade desk. That's what I was talking about. Just kind of just staring into space. Right. So it's just nice to see because he's put in a lot of work. He's putting in a lot of work, and now he's starting to reap some benefits. One more thing. You mentioned St. Brown. Did you see the shimmy he did after that first down? The Malik Beasley shimmy he did.
One time for Bees. That was fire. I like that. He got the first down, did the little wiggle and the shimmy and all that. Hey, Malik, we don't know what's going to happen with Malik Beasley, but his influence is going to live forever for sure. Like, the year that he had, the personality that he brought, I think that's still going to be, within this roster, within this team. So shout out to Bees, man. I hope he's in good spirits right now.
And aside from vibe, he set records last year. So he's etched.
Bro, what?
He's etched.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So the impact, like you mentioned, is there. It was there, and I hope he's able to come back and provide more vibes because the guys like him, man.
Yes.
Like I had Tolu Smith on about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and he was just like, man, thank you, bro. Yeah, he's a great dude too, man. Tolu, I really hope he has a place here on this team. He's a really good human being. He was just talking about a few different things with Bees and how the guys love him. He always kept the vibes high. And one thing that I will always say, I didn't know for sure, but it kind of just seemed that way. I asked Tolu, I said, do you think that Bees is the perfect gap to the bridge as far as being old enough to be respected, but young enough to still be current and have the young guy's ear? He said that's exactly what it was. Bees was that connector. He's on social media. He's into fashion, right? But he's also an elder statesman. So he has their ear and he can give them different pointers and experience and all those things. So yeah, shout out to Bees, man. He was great for us last year. And I hope wherever he lands, hopefully he's back with us. He's back in Detroit now, hopefully he's able to come back. But hopefully he's back with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just remember seeing him overseas with Cade and JD. I think they were in Greece it was. It seems like they still locked in. So again, we'll see what happens with this league investigation they still got going on. But yeah, I'm hoping he's in good spirits. I'm hoping everything is looking up forward for him. And best case scenario, he's back in Detroit. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think it was Rome. They were where they were at.
Okay,
I could be wrong, but somewhere overseas for sure.
Somewhere I can't afford.
Somewhere I'm dead, bro. Not right now, right? But but wait on it.
We get
all
there.
Right. So look, man, I got a few quick questions for you with regard to these guys with the list. So let me ask you this: which players do you think will make the list next year that were not on this year's list? We talked about a few guys, but just to kind of reiterate, who do you think is going to possibly crack the 100 list next year that's not on the list this year?
I think Asar and JD have to be. If they didn't, I think that's a really bad sign. I don't think it's going to be because, ESPN is overlooking them. I think they have to take some steps, to make it undeniable. Again, they don't have to be top 50 or top 20, nothing crazy, but be on the list to make it undeniable.
Right.
I think Ron got a chance. I think Ron can probably get up there. Again, I really like what I saw from him in Summer League. I talked to his pops. Shout out to Ron Sr. He said he put on a lot of muscle. We saw his passing looked really good for some reason. Like he's, was able to kind of like wait and, dish off to the cutter and, make some plays that he didn't really make a lot of last year. A lot of the stuff that he did was kind of just sporadic and, just the momentum changing plays that you can't really script out. I think they'll maybe draw up some plays for him next year coming off the bench so he can be, a little bit more polished with this game. I think sitting next to Karis LeVert is going to be a big benefit for him. So yeah, I'll go with Ron. I think Ron has a chance to crack that list, probably around the 90s or the 100.
You know what's funny? It's funny you mentioned Karis LeVert because I was talking to Ron's trainer, shout out to Charles Hill, and I was asking him about player comps. If there are guys who Ron might want to try to model his game after in some ways. And two of the guys he mentioned was Jaylen Brown, who I mentioned Jaylen Brown. He said yes, Jaylen Brown and Karis LeVert. So to your point, bro, you're dead on with that. And I think those are two guys who he can really learn a lot from, especially Karis now that he's here. Karis is very underrated, I think, for this team. Him having played with Coach Bickerstaff before, played his best ball, in my opinion, with Coach Bickerstaff. He played defense. He was encouraged for the first time in his career to play defense under Coach. And I think he said he became a better player because of that. So being back with Coach Bickerstaff for Karis, understanding what he wants, understanding him as a man, and then understanding what he wants from him on the basketball court, I think he's going to be a seamless fit for this team. I think he's going to be the most important offseason acquisition. I think Duncan's going to be important, but I think Karis and his ability to score and play make under a coach he is familiar with is going to be huge. So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be I can see that for sure. So let's do this real quick, bro. Let's jump to next year. When ESPN drops this list a year from now, right? What will Cade's ranking be? We're going to have fun with this.
Okay. I already think some of the guys ahead of him shouldn't be ahead of him. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't think Steph Curry had a better year than Cade. I don't know what people saw from Steph. Like the first half of the year, Golden State was barely in playoff contention. Like at least on the KD side, he was top 5 in scoring, so it made sense. I wasn't mad at KD being where he was or Brian being where he was, but Steph, I think they way overblew. Like I remember for half the year, he wasn't even top 20 in scoring. So to put him top, was he 6 or 7 or 8? I thought that was way too high for him. I think Cade will lap Steph. I think he'll lap Bron. I think he'll lap KD because I don't know. I like Houston, but I don't know how good he's gonna be with them. I'm a little iffy about that on some fronts. I think Cade. Yeah, that's huge. That's a big deal. So I think Cade can be as high as I'll go 7. I think he could be around 6 or 7. Like I think he can teeter close with guys like Ant Edwards, Luka, who we'll say that for another time. But yeah, I think Cade has a good chance of passing a lot of those guys like very soon. I think he should be around that range. What you think?
Let's get. I have him at 8 next year. I think he's going to be right there at 8, and he's going to be top 10 for sure. I'm just trying to be Yeah, I'm trying to air. I don't want to get too crazy. But he'll be 24. Like he's got time to get to top 5 and top 3 and top 1. Right. Let's get to some comments. Muffin says, I think all Pistons starters will make the list next year. Heisenberg Blue says JD, Asar, and Ron. Okay. Detroit Drew says starting lineup has an argument to make the list, to be honest. If they do, man, watch out. Ricky Sanders says
that means a lot of good things are happening.
That means a lot of good things are happening for sure. Ricky says Cade will be number 4. Bobby Clement will make this list. I don't know if you're joking or serious, bro. Like,
all right, bro.
Unless an injury
Never mind.
Happens,
Don't bring him on. Don't bring him on. I changed my mind. Don't bring him on. Nah, he messed it up right there. Come on, Rick.
Listen, I'm the biggest, one of the biggest Bobby Clement supporters as a Pistons fan. I think that's safe to say. I've been knowing him since last year. He's not making the top 100, bro. It's not happening. No. I think he may be a rotational piece. He may get 10 to 12 minutes next year, but I don't think he's gonna. No, we're not gonna do all that. Ricky says, man, come on, you gotta be playing, bro. It's opportunity more than anything. Opportunity more than anything. Especially
right, exactly.
If we want us to go get a power forward, whether it's a starter or a backup, right? Unless you have confidence that Bobby can be the backup, which I do. But if we're looking to add more depth to that spot, it's only gonna make it harder. So we'll see. But I am high on Bobby Clement, and I do think he is going to be in the rotation at some point next year. So we'll see. We'll see. Eisenberg says Cade at 7 or 8. Okay. So okay, I thought he was just playing. Okay, yeah, for sure. All right. You can come back. You bet. You good.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. He's good buddy now. We good.
Let's go to Jaden. When ESPN drops this list a year from now, what will Jaden's ranking be? Jaden Ivey.
I think Ivy will be. I think he'll hover around 50. I think he'll hover around the 50 spot. Again, I think he's almost he's underrated as a defender, but I think he's better than people give him credit for.
Yep.
And again, assuming in a perfect world that they're able to play at least, let's say the core plays, let's say they all play around 65 games at a minimum. If that's the case, and they're picking up from where they left off last season, I can see him hovering around 40 or 50. Again, I don't care about – I'm not that sweating crazy about his defense because this season, assuming Asar is there, assuming Cade is there, he's not going to have to be guarding the top two guys on the team. So considering that, if he's still healthy, if the speed is still there, the jump shot is still there, I think he's going to be one of the more not slept on, but I think he'll be one of the guys that should be in the most improved player conversation.
Yep.
And again, I think he's very suited to be a number 2 for the team. And I think looking at that list around where those guys were around the 40 range, I think he'll be, probably around in that discussion in the 40 and 50.
Yeah. I got him at 55.
Okay.
I got him at 55 next year. Ricky says Jaden will be 54. So yeah, I got him between 50 and 60. I'm just going to say round number 55, whatever. Right. I think that's going to be, because like I mentioned, I think had he been healthy all year, he would have been higher than 85.
Right.
So I think with the jump that he's projected to make and that I think he's going to make on both sides of the ball, getting better, having a full off season with all these guys, it's only going to make all these guys better. And I think he's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of that because he didn't play last year. It's not as much film with Jaden Ivey on this team with these guys.
Right.
So I think that's going to be important too. So yeah, I got him at 55, and I think he's going to have a really good season. All right. When ESPN drops this list a year from now, what will Asar Thompson's ranking be?
I don't think we're going to see a big leap in his jump shooting. I do think he'll maybe make a jump in terms as a scorer because apparently, according to Trajan, he's put on a lot of muscle. The handle's getting stronger. I think that's a big point of emphasis he's been working on off season. I could see him between 50, 60 because I think he'll be an all NBA defense consideration this season. I think he's a better defender than his brother. I think he's one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball. And he'll have a whole season. Again, assuming they play around 65 games, I think he'll have enough tape on his resume to prove that. Again, I think, again, considering he's an elite defender and has the potential to be that, I think having that elite skill set allows for some people to overlook those deficiencies. And if he's making some steps in some other areas, again, with the handle, his passing, his scoring, hopefully with the free throw shooting as well, if he's teetering around 70%, I think I could see him probably around like in the 60 range.
Okay. Yeah. I think he's going to be a huge beneficiary. I think these guys are going to be, Jaden and Asar are going to be great for each other. I think
totally
they're going
agree.
they're going to allow each other to get so many easy buckets, bro. We saw how I talked about the importance of the Pistons' identity defensively, at least in part being defense offense. Right. We saw so many times the Pistons turning defense into offense. And I think having a guy like Jaden on the break, sprinting with a guy like Asar, you got two of the fastest teammate combination in the league. I don't think there's two guys on the wings who can claim to have guys faster than Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey. So I think those two guys are going to get a lot of easy buckets for each other, not in half court, but more so just turning defense into offense. I can really see them getting a lot of easy buckets that way.
That's the funniest part of this entire conversation because we saw a lot of the timeline pitting them against each other. You were spot on with what you just said. They are going to help each other out as much as anybody. We know Cade is going to be a big beneficiary too, but Asar is going to take the defensive, prowess or the necessities away from Ivy, and Ivy's offense is going to take away the demand for Asar's offense. 100%. Like I feel like that's going to be huge for them. And Like it's assuming and hoping, oh, he has to be this, he has to be that. Not necessarily. Like if they just all play healthy and just stick to their roles for right now and then progressively grow over time, you don't need that to just be an immediate fix for a star. Like again, I'm not expecting him to be shooting, 30 to 35% from three. I don't expect him to take a whole lot of threes this season.
Right.
So I don't think they need that. If they're able to play defense, if they're able to get out in transition, get easy buckets, Cade playing at an MVP level, we see a step forward from Ron. Beef Stew still playing at a top level defensively. It's not need to rush that. Again, it would be cool to have, but I don't think it's a rush necessarily for right now, assuming that everything else is taking the proper steps forward for his game.
That's a great point, and I totally agree, bro. I hate the pinning of these two guys against each other or who's better or whatever. Like, it's no point to cause division within unity. Like these guys are on the same team. It's fun, but when it gets out of control, it's like, what are we doing?
Especially when you just came off a playoff appearance. Like, y'all, we can't find nothing better to talk about. Like, why are we doing this? Like, this should be happy times in this city, but it
should be very.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird summer on the timeline, but it's all.
It was. I think a lot of it was. It's tough, bro. It's the off season. It's hard for everybody who cares.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it. Yeah. I totally get it. All right. So next guy, when the ESPN drops his list a year from now, what will Tobias Harris's ranking be?
I can see him kind of. I think he'll be on the list. I can see him kind of hovering around the same range. I don't think he's going to have a big drop off in his game. Tobias does a really good job of taking care of his body. He understands his responsibility to this team. He's not trying to be, slacking off. JB always talks about how he sets a proper example for the young guys. I just think he understands that as like the veteran and leader of this team. So I feel like he'll probably still be around 70, 80. I think he'll maybe take a little bit of a step back defensively, but I think offensively, I think his skill set can still be, very beneficial for this team. I think he'll still get proper looks, as a shooter. I think he's still a really good post-up scorer. And I think he's really kind of underrated with his handle as well in creating his own shot. So as long as that midi is there, as long as he's still, strong and lean and, finding the proper shots and get knocked out, corner 3 or 2, I think he'll be just fine. I think I can see between 75 and 80 being around for him. And I think that's fine. Again, he don't need to be 30 years old. Again, if he's that high, that means something bad went wrong with the other guys. So I'm cool with him being around 75, 80 for the for next season.
Okay. Yeah, I could see him slipping
right
to like in the 90s range. I mean, and I don't think it's going to be because of him. I think it's going to be because we got guys on this team who can take some of that load. We have a Jaden Ivey coming back. We have a Ron Holland looking for a bigger role, right? More opportunity. So I think it's just going to be the fact that we have depth and he's not going to need to do as much as he did last season. And I think he's going to be efficient like he was this year. I think he shot like 46% from the field, something like that. So I think the efficiency is going to be there. I just think the usage may not be as high because we got guys coming back and we will be full strength. So yeah, I can see him. I still see him in the hundreds. I just think he may slip a little bit because he won't be asked to do as much, but big deal, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Let's go to JD. When ESPN drops this list a year from now, what will Jaylen Duren's ranking be?
He needs to take the biggest jump on this list, I think. I think there's a world where if Ivey's been around 50 and 60, that's not a big deal. That's a big jump for him. For JD to not even be on the list, I don't think he can be like in the 90s or the 80s.
No.
I think he's got to be between. Okay, let me answer your question. Okay. I think he will be probably like kind of around where I said with Tobias, maybe 75, 80. But I would like to see him in the 60s. I think he don't need to, again, I don't think he needs to be, Shaq or Dwight Howard offensively for this team. The most important area where he needs to improve is his defense. And I feel like if he is producing at an elite level defensively and still, grabbing offensive rebounds and crashing the glass great, having that great connection with Cade, I would like to see him around like the 60 range. To an extent. Like I think assuming his offense is taking those slow steps, but the defense is the most important. Like it can't be. I don't want to see Beef Stew as the best defender in the paint for the Pistons. It has to be him if he's going to be the guy and get that extension that he wants to be around for the next several years. So. I would like to see him in the 60s. I know that's a big ask considering he's not even on the list. But again, I think he should have been on the list. But for me, I would like to see him in the 60s, assuming everything goes right.
I think what you said about Stu was dead on, bro. Because you look at just the way JD is built. There is no excuse in his prime, whenever he gets there, to not be as good as whatever Isaiah Stewart was in his prime. And that's not taking anything away from Stu. You know how we feel. We both love Stu. He is Detroit.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
but he also has great technique. You can tell he also watches film. You can tell he also takes care of his body. He cares about that end of the floor. It's a mindset that he has. So I am 100% with you. I think JD at some point needs to be the best rim protector, the best paint presence, whatever you're going to call it, on this team. Just because he has the natural ability. The other things you can improve on. You can't teach height. You can't teach size. You can't teach those things. And somehow Isaiah Stewart has just made it seem like those things don't matter.
Right.
So for a guy like JD, and I love it because Stu, I think, kind of lights a fire under him a little bit as far as, hey, if I can do it, why aren't you doing it? If I'm doing this, if I'm coming into the game, I shouldn't be a better defender than you. Coach shouldn't be coming to me. You know what I'm saying? So I 100% agree. To JD's point, or credit, the second half of the year, he looked like a totally different guy.
Yes.
Going after everything, just the reckless abandon, in this, if you will, that he had as far as just the energy, the effort, and just really embracing the idea of being a star in your role. I saw that from him in the second half of the year, and that encouraged me that he can eventually get to that level we're talking about. So I could see him in the 60s for sure. If he does that, if he commits to it, he makes the jump, I can definitely see that because he's got the skills to do it.
Yeah, that was a big point of emphasis for why the Pistons were able to keep afloat after Jaden Ivey's injury. You saw a lot of guys take steps forward. Asar played better. Ron played a lot better, the second half of the year. And JD as well. He was the biggest improvement that they had. And I feel like that can still be there. Again, offensively, he can still be that guy, the secondary creator, dropping off, the cutting dunk passes to Ivy or Asar as they slash to the lane, that can be there and still open. But again, the defense is what they need more than anything. I don't think it's going to be that midi or a 3-pointer that puts him over the edge and Trajan says, okay, now we got to sign him. He's looking, I believe, I don't know the man, but I believe he's looking at his defensive progression, and I think that's what's most important for this team. If he's able to establish himself as one of the 5 to 10 best paint protectors in basketball, he's going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I really hope that happens, bro, because he could be a serious anchor for this team long term, man. He really can. So hopefully he's able to do that for us. Heisenberg chiming back in says JD is going to be in top 40. Woo! If that happens, man, watch out. That's
huge.
That's crazy. He says JD looked like he descended upon us from Mount Lipid. Yeah, man, he's got a grown man body, man. So I just think about him at 25, bro.
He gonna look like Brock Lesnar at 25. He gonna be a wall by then. That's gonna be crazy.
Oh man, if the Big Show was chiseled, Jaylen Duren.
That's hilarious.
Ryan says Cade always was playing in the crowd when he went to the basket in the playoffs. If Asar or JD could hit a jumper, do you think that would improve?
100%.
I think that, but I also think just having Jaden Ivey back in the court.
Yep.
We saw so often, not even when he went to the basket, but when Cade would just cross half court, the double team would come. There was nobody who could handle the ball and get downhill and make secondary plays out of it. That was what Jaden Ivey did. So I think you're right, Ryan. I think those things could help, but the biggest thing for me is just getting that secondary guy back to take 8 to 10 eyes off of Cade Cunningham every time he crosses half court. I think that alone is going to be a huge thing and would have been a huge difference in the series and tilted the series had we had Jaden Ivey last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like to see Cade. Like that's actually something JB Bickerstaff talked about a lot. Not even just for Cade, just in general. Don't play in a crowd. That was one of their biggest emphases in their half court sets, even in transition. Don't play in a crowd offensively. So I would like to see, obviously having Ivy back on the floor, it's going to create a lot more catch and shoot opportunities for Cade. Like, I don't want to see, I don't need to see Cade, shooting like Steph Curry where he's, dancing on the outside and, a step back like Harden. Like, I don't think he needs to play like that. If he can just find open looks that are maybe set up from guys like Asar or Duren or Ivy, because again, a lot of these guys are super willing passers. And if they're able to command some extra attention, that's going to give a lot more open looks for Cade. And I think that's a big reason why his three-point shooting came down drastically after the All-Star break, not having Ivy next to him and having so much space, like, kind of clamor to him. Now, granted, he still had great shooting around him and, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Beasley, but Cade has to be a part of that next season, especially assuming we don't know what's going to happen with Beasley and Tim Hardaway not being here. Cade has to be, to me, a big anchor of that three-point shooting, not want to say resurgence, but keeping it afloat to where it was last year. He has to be a big part of that, and I think he will.
Great point. That's dead on, bro. Two more guys as far as this question, and I got one or two more for you, and we can get out of here. When ESPN drops this list a year from now, what will Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart's ranking be? Will they crack the top 100? Either one of those guys, do you think?
I think
no wrong answer.
I think Ron can, because again, I think he can make an explosion offensively. I think his game is really going to take a step forward offensively, coming off the bench for the team. I think I can see him averaging, double digits, maybe close to maybe 12 off the bench, which would be huge for them. And I think he makes enough plays defensively where it's going to get a lot of attention on ESPN. Again, where he's able to pick the ball off and play in transition and get those open dunks or run with Cade or run with Ivy. You just talked about it earlier. There's so many athletes on this team, from Cade, Ivy, Asar, Duren, Ron. Like, the athleticism and the speed that they have should be a track show. It should look like Sha'Carri Richardson going up and down the floor. So I think he's going to be able to capitalize on that. I don't think Stu will, I don't think it's a problem that he was. Again, I love what he did defensively last season. I just think, unfortunately, due to like the minutes he'll probably be playing and assuming that JD takes the step that's needed, you're not going to necessarily require Stu to play the defense that he played last season. Again, 100%. It'll be cool to see, but I don't think it's a priority for them. You need to see Duren take that step instead of Isaiah playing at that peak level, which was kind of saving Duren in some stretches in the first half of the year. So hopefully that's what it looks like. I think that will be a good thing for them.
That's it's kind of like the Tobias thing. If he's doing more, that means something's wrong. Like, Tobias had to do more when Jaden Ivey went down because something was wrong.
Exactly.
So, and when it comes to the minutes thing, great point. And that's another point of emphasis. I know I mentioned with JD, I want to see the midi. I also want to see, and I saw it the second half of the year again, the foul trouble has to come down. It has to come down. Getting 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes is not – that will be what allows a guy like Stu to be able to maybe get on this list. If that consistently happens, because that means he's getting more opportunity off the bench. He's playing more. So once again, as a domino effect, I don't want to say I don't want to see Stu on the list because I want him to get all the accolades he can. But what does it mean if he is? If he doesn't, that means he's not playing enough to qualify, like he didn't last year to qualify for defensive teams. He didn't play enough minutes. So if he's playing more minutes next year, what does that mean? So if JD can work on just defending without fouling, like you mentioned with Asar, defending without fouling, the discipline, staying down, then that will mean that Isaiah Stewart probably is not going to make the list because he's not having to come into the game and play as many minutes that will require him to get there. So that's the only reason I feel like he wouldn't get there, because I'm banking on JD making a jump next year defensively, if that makes sense.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, okay. All right. One more question. Is this the last question? I think it's one more question for you. All right. So this upcoming season, right? We talked about these guys' rankings potentially. This upcoming year, will the Pistons, in chat, you guys chime in too, will the Pistons trade for a player that will be impactful enough to make next year's top 100 list?
Will they trade for someone impactful enough to be top 100? I want to say yes.
Okay.
Because I don't want to see them, crash for just whoever to say, oh, hey, we made a move. I think Trajan's going to be, patient to find that perfect piece. But I I think they do. I have a hard time believing that, knowing where they don't have a whole lot of depth at the 4 position. I hate seeing these images where they show the depth chart and they got Ron Holland as a backup 4. Ron Holland is not a power forward. Like, he's closer to a 2-3 or 2-3 than a 3-4. On this rotation. Like, I don't see him playing as a small forward. Or as a power forward. I don't really like the idea of Asar playing as a power forward. Like, I just think they're both better suited as a 3. And looking at their rotation, they got a lot of guards. Like, they got a lot of guards, and a lot of them are in situations where they got to prove who they are pretty quickly. Like, Ivy's got to prove who he is quickly. Karras got to show his value. Duncan, I think, has more pressure than really any other guy coming off the bench for the Pistons. Really just their wings. Like, they got a bit of a jam that they kind of need to, figure out. And I think they could use one of those contracts and one of those guys and maybe a pick, to find something that works for their front court. Because as of right now, the scoring in the front court is leaving a lot to be desired. Again, they have lanes that play and that work. Sarr with his defense, JD with his, connection with Cade, but they still don't have the ability to kind of just go get their own. And Tobias is getting older for the reason we just said. You don't want to be relying on him to do too much. So I do think it's possible that they do go get somebody that'll be top 100 on that list. And I think that would be huge for them. I got a couple names in mind, but we're going to wait and see who they could be. But I do think they do make a move. I do.
Okay. I'm kind of torn with this one, bro. Like, part of me is like, I just want to run it back. And I know everything you said is accurate. For me, it's just timing. I feel like unless we feel like we can legit go get one this year, what's the rush? This will be year 2 of these guys playing together. When you think about the Thunder, Shea had been there since 2019 before they actually got a ring. So it's just like, I just don't want to rush anything, make any moves prematurely. I feel like the internal growth of some of these in the chemistry and the consistency that these guys have playing together, I think is going to be really important. We still don't know what this group as a whole can do. I think that's the thing. I think if we come out the gate slow and we get to the trade deadline and it's just like we have enough data to see this is just not working, then I think maybe. But I kind of just want to run it back and just see what we have. I mean, Tobias is in his last year of his contract. I just see them letting him play it out. I see them honoring the contract he signed, him playing it out, him being a mentor for the young guys. Because he's probably going to be included in any trade that you make to get somebody like that, I would imagine.
Probably so.
I'm not moving Ron. I'm not moving Jaden. I mean, it's like, okay, if you're not moving those guys, you got to move somebody. And I'll keep seeing this Devin Booker for Tobias Harris, Ron Holland, Jaden Ivey, and 100,000 first-round picks and 100 million second-round unprotected picks. So I just like, it's not any. I mean, like I mentioned, if there's an opportunity to go win it this year, okay. But if it's not, I just don't see what the rush will be to do that. That's just me. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned with it. I understand we got Rasheed Wallace mid-season, so it is possible, right? But it's just like I just don't want them to make the wrong move that they can't undo, and it just kind of messes with everything else too early. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the patience has rewarded them thus far. I mean, obviously, we didn't know what it was going to look like last season because obviously they were going to be patient. The number one thing they wanted to do was see what they had with the young core, and they blew the expectations out of the water for what they were supposed to do. Like Trajan himself said it. I didn't know we were going to be this good this quick. Right. So for the fact they were able to do that meant a lot. And I also just think we're seeing patience really being the kind of the model of roster building now in the NBA because we just saw what happened with Phoenix when they tried to rush. That didn't work out with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. We remember the Clippers, blowing up what they had to go get Paul George and Kawhi. While they were still a good team, it didn't get to where they wanted to get, which was a championship. That was their expectation. Even Brooklyn twice, if I'm not mistaken, because before KD got there, they had the core, Karras, one of the guys, I think D'Angelo Russell, and I'm forgetting a couple other names, but they had a nice little core of guys that were playing well in the East. As soon as they blew that up and championship expectations was what they wanted to be, it didn't help them, and it crippled their future. That's the biggest problem. So I think, patience is going to be, obviously it's something that Trajan stands on. He obviously knows, their expectations and what they want to do sooner than later. But as of right now, I don't see that being, the model of, what teams are doing now. They're not trying to crash and just get somebody and play, NBA 2K ball. Like, they're taking their time, letting their young cores develop, and we're seeing it work out. We saw it with the champs in OKC, and I think the Pistons are kind of following that model.
You mentioned Paul George moving to the Clippers from OKC. Didn't the rights to Shea go, or didn't Shea wasn't he part of that deal?
He sure was. Him and 12
so that's what
million
I'm saying.
picks. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's why I was like, you can't undo it. If they could go back in time to 2019, there's no way they make that move.
No way they do that move.
So when you got a young
look
core
into a
like
crystal
this,
ball, exactly.
That's only getting better. In year one, let's just see what we got first.
Exactly.
That's just kind of where I'm at. So I'm not saying it's impossible that I wouldn't ever do it, but it's got to be the perfect to where you're just like, why aren't you making this move? That's the only way. If it's like, I can see this working, and you only had half a season. I think Heisenberg put it well. He says, I feel like if we're trying for a big move at the trade deadline, then this current roster is probably underachieving. And that's kind of what I was saying.
Exactly.
If you get to the trade deadline, it's like, this is not working. It's not working out. These guys aren't gelling together. They don't like each other, which is not the case at all. I'm just saying that would be what I could see kind of making that possible, as if we gotta do this. But if you don't have to do it, I don't see why you would. So and the last thing I want is to get a guy who is injury prone after he gets here, and then the guy we trade for is like we trade Jaden Ivey, and he goes somewhere and he just balls out. And it's just like, no, not again. Not again.
No, please
so
no.
I would just rather play it safe. That's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, looking at the landscape of the Eastern Conference right now, if you have to do something like that, if the Pistons are in a position where they're not, sniffing the 4th, 5th seed or higher, and they're, teetering around 7 or 8 or 9, something really bad happened in terms of what they're doing right now. And I can't, again, anything can happen. We saw Luka get traded to the Lakers, so anything can happen.
Right.
I just would be really dumbfounded to see them regress that much, considering the steps that these young guys took, considering how great Cade has been. I can't see them falling to a point where they have to crash and make that kind of a deal. I don't see that happening.
Right. Yeah. And one more thing to add on to what you're saying, bro, like going back to the Rasheed Wallace, that's probably the closest thing we can compare it to as far as what is being kind of out there, right? As far as making that move for that one guy at the right time. That's the previous season, 2003, we got swept by the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Yeah.
Before she got there. And then going into 2004, before she got there again, we played the Nets again, and we still looked like we couldn't beat them.
Right.
So to me, that makes sense. You got these guys, they're right in their primes right now. And that's a little bit different because those guys are ready to take that next step. They were ready. They had the experience. They've been deep in the playoffs. They were ready to make the next jump. But watching them, and Mehmet Okur was a good player. He was even an all-star with the Utah Jazz, who was a center before she got here. But you could just tell they needed more out of that spot. Kenyon Martin was going crazy. He was dominating us in that paint, right? Yeah. Because Ben Wallace can't be everywhere.
Right.
So, and when we got Sheed, you saw the difference. And it still took us 7 games. So it's just like, it's got to be that kind of move. It's got to be that kind of situation for them to do that. So I'm with you 100%. I'm not mad if they stand pat and just remain patient, even if it means we don't advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. If we can get past the first round and we show growth, internal growth, which is the mission, the young guys getting better, it's a win. It's a total win. Yep. So that's 100%. Truth Over Motion said, I'm glad the Pistons didn't trade for Harden or an older superstar and trade the Pistons' future young talent that could be stars. 100%. You get it, Truth Over Motions. Exactly what we're talking about. And I think Trajan Langdon has the temperament to just wait on it if it's not there. So, we'll see. Correct. I was just thinking, last thing, bro, of all the young core, we just talked about these rankings, all the young core that we mentioned, we expect all of these guys basically to jump, right? So some of you guys in the chat were saying the whole starting 5 could be in the top 100 next year. So let me ask you this, in an alternate reality, right? In the multiverse, if those guys who we mentioned in chat too, if those guys that we just mentioned hit those marks of what we're expecting next season or predicting next season, how will the Pistons season end?
In a perfect world, in a perfect multiverse,
just
for the Pistons.
Based on the rankings that we were saying we project for next year, Jaden and 60, 50, or Asar or JD and 40 Heisenberg or 60, just based off the projections we have for them improving next year. How does their season end? Last year it ended in game 6 against the Knicks in the first round. How do you see their season ending next year?
Assuming everything goes right, let's say they all play 65 games. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on par with what they should be doing, making gradual steps. Let's not even assume that anybody's. Let's say Cade's an all-star and everybody else is just good. Let's say that. This is an ECF team.
Yes.
This is an ECF team. I think we've talked about it before. I'm not sold on Cleveland at the top. They just signed Killian Hayes, which should say a lot. Darius Garland. Hayes, I think Darius Garland is hurt, which is a big deal for them.
Yeah.
Their depth, like I kind of question a lot. Their coaching, I question a lot. New York is a good team. I still have questions about them and their depth as well. And I feel like outside of that, it's really just kind of for the pickings. I feel like Orlando's a good team, but they haven't proven anything yet. Atlanta's a good team, but they haven't proven anything yet. I feel like this team is ECF bound. I feel like they have a chance to surprise, maybe not surprise in the first round, because I would expect them to win if they're seeing a team like if it was 4-5, the Pistons played the Hawks. I would expect. I think the Pistons will be the favorite in that matchup.
Agreed.
And I think after that, if you can sneak off, a series against, I don't know, maybe Boston is better than we expect, or they got to see New York again in the second round, which would be must-see TV. I would like the Pistons' chances.
If Derek White balls
all right,
out.
y'all have a good day. I had a great time here. See, we went this whole time without saying his name. Didn't even talk about him on the rankings, and you just ruined the conversation.
I'm usually getting on you, so that's my fault. I'm usually getting on because you're usually bringing him up unprompted for no reason. So I had to toss it back to you.
I watched Cade dunk. Cade dunked on him twice last season, and I watched both of those highlights every single day. I kid you not. I'm so sick of hearing Derek White's name.
How much time did you spend on that 20-second clip of him dunking on Derek White? Probably about an hour.
The one on the road that he had, because the one with the left hand was kind of soft. The one with the right hand where they were down like 15 and he stares at him coming down. I've had that on replay like a bug. I ain't gonna hold you.
Oh man. My bad. I had to get you back, bro. You always.
Of course.
Get you back.
Got to give me PTSD before I go to bed.
Of course, man. Got to make sure you go to sleep well. Got to make sure that happens.
What do you think? What do you think their perfect reality is in a multiverse?
ECF. I think finals is ambitious. Going from the first round to the finals is like that's a lot, right? But
facts.
I could see them getting to the second round. I actually have them getting to the second round for sure. I think they're going to win. They could. I think they have a great shot at hosting a first round matchup.
Me too.
Top 4 seed, and I think that's how they finish. And I have them winning that series, whoever they play, whether it's the Hawks, who I think could probably be at 5, right? I have Orlando at 3, Pistons at 4, Hawks at 5. So I think the Pistons will play the Hawks in the first round. I think they'll beat them. They have some issues they have to worry about. Kristaps Porzingis is there, but he is not always healthy. So it's a lot of things that can factor in. That, and of course the injuries that we know about already in the Eastern Conference. So I think it's kind of setting up for them to at least be able to get to the second round. I have them in the conference finals. I could see them potentially falling short to a team who has more experience in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's a little. I think we can beat the Cavs, but I wouldn't be upset if we lost to the Cavs, right? Because they've been there, right? So I wouldn't be mad at that. The Knicks, I would probably be more disappointed if we lost to the Knicks than the Cavs. Because we proved last year we can beat the Knicks without 2 of our guys.
I agree.
So, yeah, I have them going to the Eastern Conference Finals, bro. I think that's where they could land for sure.
They could be what the Pacers were year before last, or what the Hawks did, where Trae Young teed off and beat the
Sixers,
the Knicks, and then the Sixers. Yep, I think that could be them this year for sure.
Great example. That's perfect. So yeah, I think we're on the same page. Chat, y'all feeling the same way. Detroit Drew has a present for you, Eric. Here it is.
All right, guys. Yeah,
Derek White.
My last time on Deuce's show. Y'all just want to troll and just irk my nerves today. We about to start the season, and this is what we on. Come on, Chad, help me out, y'all.
I started it. That's on me. That's on me. They just piling on. All right,
get your Pat Beverly on.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on Pat Bear, bro. Oh my God. The way Trae Young cooked him, I ain't gonna talk about it. All right,
that was beautiful.
Man,
that was beautiful.
Yes, it was. He did it so sophisticated too. Like, bro. You're not that guy. It's okay.
Came on call. Like, excuse me, Pat.
Excuse me for a second. All right, back to okay. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that is all we have for tonight, man. The offseason has been very quiet, man. No Rico Hines runs. No consistent social media posts of guys working out. It's been really quiet this offseason. And Eric, I love it. That tells me these guys are working in silence, just hanging back in the shadows. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what the guys have been up to, what the development has been like for these young guys. Eric is going to be in the building, guys, on the 29th for Media Day. If you guys have any questions that you want Eric to ask, make sure you go over to his channel at Top Tile Detroit and make sure you chime into his content and drop those questions. And I'm sure if he can, he will definitely ask them. And with that, Eric, where can we find you, bro? Where can we tap in with you? We talked about your YouTube channel, Top Tile Detroit, but let everybody know we can find you, man.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Dudes, always love being on the show, brother. Yeah, lock in with me on social media at I am Eric Vincent, as you see on the screen. Yeah, any questions you have for Media Day next week, send them to me. We try to. They're pretty good with allowing a lot of questions, a lot of time for us to flick off. So, yeah, if you got something you want us to ask, hit me up on my social media at I am Eric Vincent. You can check out my work as the beat reporter on clutchpoints.com. I'll definitely have some write-up and some quotes from what we get from the players, from what we get from JB, from what we get from Trajan. It should be a really good conversation. I'm really, really excited for Media Day, and I hope you guys are as well. And I'm going to have my coverage on my YouTube page, Top Title Detroit. I think just under 20 subscribers away from 500. So if y'all can bless me and make that happen, I'll really appreciate it. I'm going to have as much content on there as I can this season. I'm really excited to get that booming for y'all. So yeah, lock in with me on Top Title Detroit. I would really, really appreciate that.
So guys, once again, man, Pistons Media Day this Monday, September 29th. It is almost that time again, Pistons fans. We are almost there. So listen, Eveni, we appreciate you, bro. As always, pulling back up to the show, man. Your YouTube channel is growing too. Like, people are starting to get hip to the movement. They're starting to get hip to who you are and what you know as an NBA fan, as a Pistons fan, as a beat writer, as a credentialed beat writer, right? So you guys make sure you guys join the movement. Go support him over there at Top Title Detroit. Also, make sure you guys keep your eyes open for some new Pistons music from yours truly before the start of the regular season. Y'all know I got to come with a new anthem every year. Last year was Dog Pound, like Eric mentioned. He gave me a shout out. I appreciate that, brother. And I got some new stuff for you guys coming pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. And then lastly, there are going to be some notable upgrades to the show this season as well. And I'll have more on that for you guys soon. And as always, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight, man. It's been a great show. I appreciate you guys for showing up, for being here. Detroit Juice says, I wish we had more Rico Hines runs, but great show regardless. I appreciate you, bro. Me too. It's bittersweet, but I'm glad that these guys are locked in and they're probably working on the games as we speak right now. So shout out to you guys for being here with this, man. This has been a great show. And y'all know the drill, man. Detroit versus everybody. Peace.
And when you knock me down, I'm getting back up. Cause when I step on the floor, you know your time's up. I'm on my way up and I'm not gonna stop. We headed straight to the top in the low. I gotta face it, I got no time to waste it.